Assalamu alaikum. I'd like to take a break from all the serious warnings that I just did, and I'm outside. It's dusk, twilight time, and I'd like to comment on the increasing racism. I just saw a video here in Florida of a cop punching a black man in the face at a traffic stop, wherein he was innocent, did no wrong, but once again, racism. And I'm living in Florida now, and Florida seems to be a hotbed of racism. But then I go back and I think about the past and stories I heard from my ancestors, shall we say, only once removed from them. But we all know about the Irish need not apply, and about the Italians being classified as black when they first came over, let's say 100 and not that much more than 100 years ago. What about it? Well, now the Italians and the Irish have a very secure position in America, and the African Americans, black people, whatever you want to call them, not so much. So if we don't do something drastic, what would that be? To alleviate this situation, because now we're in a serious situation that's getting worse day by day by day. We have the white supremacists, and I feel it more because I'm down south. This doesn't go on up north at all, where I lived my first 40 years. Yes, we had ghettos. We had the have-nots supposedly living off welfare, and but nothing like down here. You know, the north and south, they're really quite different. I prefer the south because of the weather, number one, and the people in general seem to me to be more polite, more gentle. Believe it or not, it's like what I'm saying seems to be contradictory, but it is what it is. I mean, I've lived here now for 2 years. Yeah. But then I did live, before this, I went back and forth from Egypt to America, and I lived 6 years at one point. But what I want to concentrate on right now is, what is racism? Racism is shirk. See, I just finished my units on shirk. It's a denial of Allah's qadar. It's an absolute flagrant disobedience to what Allah has told us, not in the Quran, but in the Hadith, that no one has superiority by race, or even by, I don't want to say ethnicity, because it's really the language, the Arab. What is the meaning of al-Arab? It's the language. So don't feel superior. And we can easily see it now. The proof is in the pudding. Wow, I'm old. I'm old to use that euphemism. The proof is in the pudding. Arabic is on its deathbed because nobody seems to really care anymore. But the Americans do, because all the converts, like myself, we're chasing after Arabic. We're wanting Arabic because we see the beauty in it, and we feel it from our conversions to Islam, our prayers, our reading Quran, our struggles to try to kick it up a notch, as we might say. Kick it up a notch. So even if we were to take over the mantle of carrying the torch of Arabic, would we be any different from those who were native speakers in the Arabian Peninsula? Or would we too also turn into racists? Now, Allah has told us time and time again in the Quran, most people don't believe, most people hate the truth, and most people are ungrateful. These are verses running throughout the Quran that refer to the human race as a whole. So alaykum anfusakum, I'm just trying to warn, inform, give a heads up to my fellow Americans here. Because what we're seeing now is nothing more than an onslaught. Is it from the enemy? Why now? Why right now, when we have a far bigger, shall I use another old-fashioned expression? We have bigger fish to fry right now. We have starving children multiplying day by day in the face of a devil who has set his sights on destruction of an entire people. It's called genocide. So, aren't we supposed to focus on that? Yes, of course, in our prayers and in our constant dua against that. But it seems to be that we have to focus also on what we have around us, in our surroundings, and what we see happening day by day, and we must speak out. You do know that the command that's used more than any other command in the Quran, Qul, speak, say it. And you do know there's a hadith that says if you can change something with your hand, do it. If you can't, by your tongue, then do that. And if you can't do that, then hate it, at least hate it in your heart. So for me, I've always hated any form of racism. Since I was a small child, I couldn't understand why people didn't like black people. So I'm just coming out and saying the truth that when I was young and where I was raised, I never saw a black person. And when I finally went to high school and we were able to take the bus, or it was at an underground subway, and when we were adventurous, when we were like 16, we'd go into what we call it today, the hood. Back in the day in Boston, it was called the combat zone. And we would go in there and we would see black people. And we were never harmed. I didn't look upon them as any lesser beings. However, as I look back on those days, I didn't know any history. I didn't know what happened with the Civil War and, you know, the way that they were ripped off, shall we say, in voting and able to be transited to a better place. What we have in the archives of whatever is considered to be history, that the majority of the freed slaves came to Florida, simply because they wanted to run as far away as they could, down to the tip of America, which is Florida, and where they could feel safe. Do you know there's an actual city here in South Florida, down by the Florida Keys, called Islamorada? It's got the word in it. So now, wouldn't you expect that this would be common knowledge? Shouldn't this ought to be in some form of a textbook in social studies? It's not. So that's just one small example of maybe you could talk about that. Maybe you could be part of what is reality. Now, I'm going to have to move away from here. You know, I have to go outside. I mean, this is not a joke. The internet here works. But when you want to upload, you have to go outside and you have to stand next to where the main rotor is placed. Now, you might say, why don't you just get your own? I tried that. Didn't work. Didn't work because of the placement of the domicile that I'm in. But I do my best. So I'd like to tell you another story, seeing as we're talking about racism here today. And I like to go back, as you know, what's it called? A walk down memory lane. I think I've mentioned to you before that this is, in a sense, on my religious channel. When I grew up, we had what's called maids. And it's because my mom had 8 children, a 16-room home, and my dad was rich. So it was the thing to do to get a maid. And I never liked having maids. Sometimes we would have 2. And they would be called the maid and the butler, and it was husband and wife. Sometimes they would be from Haiti, Jamaica, but often they would be from the Deep South. So I'm just going to, while I still have some light, refer to Maggie Drake. I was perhaps at this time 15, and Maggie was perhaps 19. And she came from a family of 12 children in Alabama. And she was the kindest, sweetest person. You know, when I'd have an argument with my mom, I'd knock on Maggie's door. You know, her room was by the kitchen, and she'd just hug me and say, you know, I don't want to make the accent because I don't know how, but she'd say something like, "It's okay, girl, it's okay. Your mama has a lot to deal with, and don't be sad. She doesn't mean it when she yells at you." And she would be like, I was like her baby. And there were only a couple of years between us. So that was my take on Maggie. And she only came 1 year, and the story was one summer she would save up all her money to pay for her college education. Well, lo and behold, Maggie Drake ended up a judge in the criminal court in Detroit. And she's actually, her picture and her story, well, not her bio, but my brother sent me a book that was written about some crime that she had to, published book about some heinous crime that she had to give a verdict on. And, you know, she's still there. I tried to get in touch with her, but nothing came of it. I don't know what happened. I thought I got her number to leave her a message and say, "Remember me? We used to know each other 60 years ago, 70 years ago." You know, one person can really affect your life. And she was my example of every good thing there could ever be. I also had my sheikh in Egypt from Ghana. And he wasn't black, he was brown. I mean, he wasn't brown. I can't see very well. It's affecting my mind. He was black. He was really the African kind of black. Not brown, not cocoa, no. Black. And his face shone with the light of Iman. And he was honestly the best living human being I ever met in my life, in so many ways. Not just as a sheikh who taught me Tawheed in the very beginning, but he was actually the wali in my marriage to my third husband, Egyptian. I think this is the time we should end this, but just a little vignette. Outside, it's 9 o'clock now, and time to end this. And hopefully the previous one has uploaded now, and I will upload this one. So now you know why it's too dark. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.